It is deeply humbling to be here today offering words, but we see that words do have power because there is so much effort to silence them. So we offer them in the spirit of solidarity and hope. With me today are the actors Nadine Malouf, Nicole Shalhoub, and Stacey Yan, beloved members of our PlayCo community. Nadine is joining us from backstage at the Public Theater, where she's currently performing. Nicole from Oklahoma City, where she's filming a project, and Stacey from Indiana, where she's currently teaching. So we're tuning in from around the United States. This group came together when PlayCo produced a play called Intractable Woman, a theatrical memo on Anna Politkovskaya by the Italian playwright Stefano Massini, translated by Paula Wing in the fall of 2018. We produced the play to share the story of the journalist Anna Politkovskaya, a fierce protector of truth who was murdered in 2006 as she entered her apartment building in Moscow, and to draw attention to threats to journalists and free speech, while the Trump presidency was degrading the values our country is supposed to uphold. The play, which focused on Anna's accounts of Russia's second war in Chechnya, has been echoing in our minds again since this Russian war against Ukraine began. For today's presentation, we've worked with the director and a designer from that production, Lee Sunday Evans and Masha Simring, to put together readings that we'd like to share today. I also want to thank Charlene Adiambo from PlayCo for her contribution. Lee has put this together in the style of our production, where Nadine, Nicole, and Stacey together played the voice of Anna Politkovskaya. They're together again today as three voices and one voice. So now I will turn it over to Nicole, Stacey, and Nadine.
We are a group of actors.
A few years ago, we did a play about the journalist Anna Politkovskaya.
By the way, Anna was born in New York City to Ukrainian parents. Her parents were Soviet diplomats posted to the UN by the Soviet government.
The play was written by Stefano Massini, and it was an important project for all of us.
It was important because Anna was such a dedicated reporter, committed to telling the truth about the Second Chechen War and Putin's abuses of power there.
It was also important because Anna was killed, and telling her story,
even though it ended in such a brutal act of needless violence,
was a way that we could celebrate her.
And learn from her and grieve the loss of her life, her voice, her passion, her writing, and honor her courage, her dedication to truth-telling in the face of unfathomable opposition.
Today, we want to read some pieces of text inspired by the style of the play that we did.
A tribute to the theater of Mariupol.
A poem, part of a new play by a Ukrainian writer.
An excerpt from one of Anna's books.
Part of a Facebook post from a young Russian journalist we met while making the play.
As a way to send our love to everyone in Ukraine, everyone who is fighting to survive and resist in the face of this senseless war.
Playwright Stefano Massini wrote, "This was the theater of Mariupol.
It was hit by an artillery strike with 1,000 refugees inside.
The theater is a place, always, in which human beings show the best of themselves.
A place of words, of verses, of beauty, of bodies, of visions, of sets sculpted and painted, of costumes drawn and sewn, a place of questions and of memories.
In sum, the best that humanity can express."
Tonight, the Mariupol Drama Theatre was destroyed. It no longer exists. It lies in ruin, and they are excavating to save the survivors of the crowd of people who found in a theater, this time, a physical refuge, not just a symbolic one, against the evil of the world.
The theater welcomed them as theaters always have throughout the history of the world, theaters that were created for the good of all who enter them.
This is why the tragedy of the theater of Mariupol is a catastrophe that cannot pass in silence in theaters around the world.
As a man of the theater, I am struck and pained as I have never been. Therefore, I will try to launch to all those who make theater a simple proposal. Each theater this weekend will display a large M on their front door.
It will be like all the theaters are the theater of Mariupol, and as such, in part, will also be struck.
That social media post was written by playwright Stefano Massini on March 16th.
We want you to know, all of those who are listening, that many theaters,
including some in New York City, did post an M on the doors.
So that audiences saw when they walked in, tonight, this is the theater of Mariupol. Today, Mariupol endures in the face of continued violence and destruction.
Now we are going to read a poem by the Ukrainian-American poet, Ilya Kaminsky.
This is from the book Dancing in Odessa, published by Tupelo Press.
The poem is titled Author's Prayer.
If I speak for the dead, I must leave this animal of my body.
I must write the same poem over and over, for an empty page is the white flag of their surrender.
If I speak for them, I must walk on the edge of myself. I must live as a blind man who runs through rooms without touching the furniture.
Yes, I live. I can cross the streets asking, what year is it? I can dance in my sleep and laugh in front of the mirror. Even sleep is a prayer. Lord,
I will praise your madness, and in a language not mine, speak of music that wakes us.
Music in which we move, for whatever I say, is a kind of petition, and the darkest days must I praise.
Next, we are going to read part of a Facebook post.
It was written by the journalist and activist, Elena Kochuchenko, who was vowed to be a professional witness to Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
We met her in New York City. She was a fellow at Columbia University when we were doing the play about Anna Politkovskaya, Intractable Woman. She was living in and out of a kind of temporary exile because
she did an interview in 2015 about Russia's military presence in Ukraine,
which put her in danger.
Also, Elena works at the Russian independent newspaper Novaya Gazeta, which is where Anna worked.
Novaya Gazeta has been forced to stop operating now, but Elena continues to post from the Ukraine. We thank Masha Simring for this translation of her words.
I want to thank the Ukrainians who helped me from the moment when I, without money, cards blocked, and without connection, no roaming with the aggressor country, but with a Russian passport at night, ended up behind a border checkpoint in the village of Shahini.
From this moment on, you, your love of your country, your courage and faith, not in me, in my readers, in the Russians, made my work possible. Thank you.
I thank the decoders who followed me through the sounds of morgues, hospitals, destroyed houses. This is one hell of a job. Half of you refuse to take money for the work or ask to transfer your payment to a human rights project.
I thank my dear editorial office who sent me to war, believed in me, protected me, and waited for my texts and my return. Beloved, I have no words, and there's no one closer to me.
I have things to be finished before I could be imprisoned in my homeland under new criminal charges. Now I have a few months of work and sleeping in a safe place ahead of me. It will take time to finish what I started. This is a poem that Elena posted on Instagram a few weeks ago. We thank Masha Zimmering for sharing it and translating it for us. It's called
The Metro Has Become Strange by Fyodor Swarovski.
The metro has become strange. Passengers are disappearing. At first, we did not notice.
But
the number of the gone is growing.
Information has leaked into the papers. Relatives are complaining. They are writing reports to the police.
The rumors. After midnight, not long before the metro's closing hour, on certain lines, new stations are appearing.
Station Seashore, Thunder by the River, Mountain Meadows and Meadows, A Dark Night in the Woods, Open Space, Station Ship, Station Dusk.
The doors open carefully. You have half a minute to think.
Beyond the doors, the shores of an island in the ocean, clouds on a cliff, pines, palms.
The smell of oak and maple.
Foam feathers crunch under feet and porcupines.
They say the stations are quantum, unreal, but
Many still leave.
this is an excerpt from a new play by the Ukrainian writer Irina Gerets, a founder of the Playwrights Theatre in Kyiv.
It was translated by John Friedman and Natalia Bradas and commissioned by the Center for International Theater Development,
Which reached out to Ukrainian writers to give them work, if possible, during this time.
Here's an excerpt of the play.
Dwarf breeds of apple trees. They take up less space and they match my height.
They bloom and smell wonderful in the spring when I can approach them and smell their blossoms without climbing up on a ladder.
In the fall, I will collect their sweet fruits. Sources on the internet say the trees will bear fruit in the 3rd year after the seedlings are planted. I'll wait.
The main thing is to talk with my neighbor.
He has a tractor and we have abandoned, overgrown land.
We recently bought a house with land in the village. We threw all of our efforts into remodeling the house, but never touched the land.
We spent a long time thinking about what would grow here.
One needs love and humanity in these days of rage and hatred.
My youngest daughter is pregnant and terribly frightened. She called to tell me there was an air raid alarm, and because she was on the street and did not know where to hide, my arms and legs began to tremble. But it's no big deal, no big deal, I repeat to myself constantly.
It's nothing. You just must wait, struggle, and suffer the pain.
It's like giving birth. Then you look at the baby and think, wow, good for me. I did it. We will cope. I want to balance anger with love and tenderness.
My pregnant Dasha picked up a little mutt named Bun at the shelter. Bun entertains my child and relieves some of the anxiety. My husband and I have a second dog, Squirrel.
We love our little one, although to be honest, she looks like a little bat. Most important, the formerly homeless Bun and Squirrel are full of love for us. You need balance.
My grandmother, who is half Tatar, was supposed to inherit a huge apple orchard from her Tatar grandparents, but she didn't. First, the Soviet government took away the apple orchard and destroyed the trees. Second, even if she had managed to inherit it, she would not have been allowed to do anything, acquire a profession, or earn a living.
I think, could it be my fault that the war started? Maybe my thoughts about the new apple orchard were interpreted as some absolute evil, a kind of Mordor that rejects everyone who loves, creates, and generates something, that destroys for centuries anything that is capable of creating happiness and giving life.
When watering the apple tree, take care with the supports under the fruit-laden branches.
The next to last text we're going to read is an excerpt from the prologue to Anna Politkovskaya's 2002 book about the war in Chechnya.
Who am I? And why am I writing about the Second Chechen War? I'm a journalist, a special correspondent for the Moscow newspaper Novaya Gazeta. And this is the only reason I've seen the war. I was sent there to cover it.
Not, however, because I am a war correspondent and know this subject well. On the contrary, because I am just a civilian.
The editor-in-chief's idea was simple. The very fact that I'm just a civilian gives me that much deeper understanding of the experiences of other such civilians living in Chechen towns and villages who are caught in the war. That's it.
For that reason, I've been going to Chechnya every month since July.
Naturally, I have traveled far and wide through all of Chechnya. I've seen a lot of suffering.
It has been such a terrible war.
Simply medieval, even though it's taking place as the 20th century passes into the 21st, and in Europe too.
People call the newspaper and send letters with one and the same question. Why are you writing this? Why are you scaring us? Why do we need to know this?
I'm sure that this has to be done for one simple reason.
As contemporaries of this war, we will be held responsible for it.
The classic Soviet excuse of not being there and not taking part in anything personally won't work. So I want you to know the truth.
The very last thing we'll read
Is a kind of blessing, a prayer.
a hope.
A poem. Let There Be New Flowering by Lucille Clifton.
Let there be new flowering in the fields.
Let the fields turn mellow for the men.
Let the men keep tender through the time.
Let the time be wrested from the war.
Let the war be won.
Let love be at the end.
Thank you all so much.
Really, thank you all. I mean, that is just such a powerful combination of the material and words, and thank you for your sincerity in preparing it and delivering it. And how does it feel, to the question to the actors, to speak those lines?
I don't want to speak for my fellow castmates, but we did Intractable Woman, the show about Anna Politkovskaya, in 2018, and she has not left us. Her words, her work, her life's passion and pursuit and spirit have not left us. And so to return to that spirit is unfortunate given the situation in the world today and ongoing, but feels powerful to convene in this way.
Yeah, okay.
No, go ahead.
Over the past few years, but obviously more recently, we sometimes check in as a group or even like some of the three of us, the actors and Lee, the director, on text or whatever, about little news bits or things, whether it's stories about certain journalists or things that are chilling, that are happening. And then most recently, even before this project came about, we were sharing, you know, did you see Stefano's post? Did you see Elena's post? Did you see, you know, what's happening? And, you know, it's funny, I have to say that one of the more profound moments for me in the play that we did was the experience of meeting the Elena, who's the young reporter who works at Novaya Gazeta, and having her present for our first read through. And then she came back and saw the show, and she had gone traveling all over the country. And I've always liked to check in when she posts on social media, just to see the incredible work that she's doing. Yeah, I've been in particular thinking of her a lot, because she's, you know, she's part of the legacy of Anna, and she's experiencing this all, and I hope and pray for her safety and her work, and hopefully Novaya Gazeta will be able to open again and be able to report independent journalism in Russia.
Yeah, it's very personal for all of us, I think, just getting to know so much about Anna and all the other journalists who put themselves at risk and continue to report after being poisoned and harassed, and their families as well. And like, it's changed the entire way that I look at any war and any independent media coverage. And I think like one of the most, and it's taking me back to that time, but it's forever with me. Like Nadine was saying, like it's never left. And like when we were working on that play, we had a lot of journalists come to see, and like Kate had organized some, you know, talkbacks with like certain local online journalists and others. And that like, it was so meaningful for them too, to see some of them who knew Anna, and also just reflecting on their own journeys abroad in covering either war or personal stories in places that don't get to be covered. So it's just so important, especially the way that the war in Ukraine is being covered, and we're watching before our eyes, Novaya Gazeta being, you know, closed down. And yeah, so it's been, yeah, it was really great to get together, and thank you for, you know, letting us be a part of this.
Sure. Kate, what does it mean to you?
Well, just listening to what Nicole and Stacey and Nadine were saying, you know, sometimes I think about the fact that we're doing theater, and what does that really do? I do feel that on a one-on-one basis, or maybe on a, you know, on the basis of each audience that we perform for, sometimes you are able to sort of plant something in someone's heart or someone's mind that does reverberate. And certainly, as has been said, the experience of producing that play and you know, other plays that PlayCo has been able to produce. You know, I was thinking before today, like I said earlier, I'm thinking of playwrights in Ukraine who have guns in their hands right now. And here we are with words. But words are powerful. They can be. And so it's very meaningful to be here today. And, you know, as Jonathan was saying earlier, Frank, I just think, you know, what you've been doing for the past 2 years, just bringing people together is so important. You know, whether we're together in a theater or together through technology like this, it's really important more than ever.
Yeah, but also your work. Actually, what unites us with the journalists like Anna is the search for truth. I think it is really what you all are doing on stage as actors, the writers as writers, Kate as a producer and artistic director. And it is a strong play. It's a great play. Everybody loves Lehman Trilogy so much, which Stefan also wrote, but I think this is a play that, goes to the heart, of making art and being a testimony and a witness, what theater does, what writers do, what producing means. And it's one of the great productions of the play company with they were once the Sacram Binder or Guillermo Calderon's Villa that really engaged with stories, and they stay with us. And they're not like television shows where they are like sugar, soda drink, and you forget what happened. You don't forget when you saw this play. It changed you. As Nicole said, I never look at news again the same. So something happened. And also it became true. Whenever the Gazeta will be published again, it will be a free country, So we'll see where it goes. But I really, really want to thank you for taking this so serious, for preparing so well, for delivering so beautifully this very, very significant, work, and also the life of a person, entire life, someone who got killed, for searching for the truth, for not backing down, and for continuing to work, even so people told her, you should not. In a way, an Antigone, of our times, who says, I care about the dead. I care about the corpses in Chechnya at the time, or reporting on the Ukraine, what their colleague does now. So it's a very powerful thing. We want to really, really thank you. And we already have the next group. Thespanrind is here, and Anne Murier, and perhaps also Bernice Miller from John Jay College, who over the last decade also engaged deeply, I think, with Eastern Europe. So first of all, welcome everybody. But all of you, thank you. I hope to see it again. I hope you will put this episode up on the PlayCo website and send it out, or we send you a link. This was very powerful and very strong. And like all the contributions today, really, truly meaningful, and also shows what theater can do if we really ask what influence, what can we show, what can we do. This is an example actually what it does. Thank you so